This game was never supposed to feel this stressful. One kick, one strange curve, one moment that had Steelers fans holding their breath. And now, days later, the truth finally comes out. Before we dive in, make sure you hit like, share this with a fellow Steelers fan, and subscribe so you never miss what's really going on with this team. Here's the question that immediately flips the entire narrative on its head. What if that kick everyone blamed wasn't actually a mistake at all? Because that's exactly where things stand right now. The extra point everyone thought Chris Boswell flat out missed is now officially being ruled as a block. And when you go back and watch the replay closely, it makes complete sense. Ravens defender number 39 gets just enough of the ball to change everything. That slight deflection altered the spin, bent the trajectory, and turned a routine kick into something that looked completely unexplainable in real time. That ball didn't just drift. It sliced. Almost like a bad golf shot that comes out of nowhere when everything in your swing felt perfect. And that's why this matters. Because if you know Boswell, you know how rare it is for him to miss like that. Even earlier in the season, when he missed the long attempt in Cleveland in brutal conditions, that one at least had context. Distance, weather, rain. Even then, the miss was surprising. But an extra point? Missed that badly. That didn't line up with the kicker we've watched for years. Now we know why. From a mental standpoint, this is massive. That moment could have lingered. A kicker heading into the playoffs doesn't need doubt creeping in. But instead of carrying the weight of a mistake, Boswell gets something just as valuable as points on the scoreboard: validation, relief, confirmation that he did his job. And let's be clear, Boswell has earned that trust. Outside of that strange stretch years ago, he has been one of the most consistent kickers in the league for multiple seasons running. Ice cold, reliable, the kind of guy you don't think twice about when the game is on the line. So if anyone was going to mentally survive a moment like that, it was him. But knowing it was blocked? That erases the question entirely. And yet, somehow, this game has still been framed as luck. You've heard it all week. The Steelers were lucky. The Steelers didn't deserve it. The Steelers just survived instead of dominated. But here's where that narrative completely falls apart. If anything, the Steelers were unlucky. They left points on the field. They made decisions that backfired. They had miscommunications on defense at the worst possible moments. They didn't capitalize on golden opportunities to sack Lamar Jackson, letting him extend plays that turned into massive touchdowns instead of punts. That's not luck. That's missed execution. There was a 4th-and-short situation before halftime that should have been automatic points. Instead of keeping it simple, the play went sideways. That's potentially a 7-point swing. Suddenly, what could have been a double-digit cushion turned into a tighter second half. And yet, despite all of that, the offense moved the ball. The quarterback was in rhythm. The defense, outside of a few lapses, competed snap after snap. Yes, Lamar Jackson did what elite quarterbacks do. Credit where it's due. But the idea that this game tilted entirely because of luck ignores everything that actually happened on the field. Here's the reality. The Steelers made it harder on themselves and still found a way through. And that brings us to the middle of this conversation, because this is where opinions really split. Question of the day: do you believe the Steelers won because of luck or despite it? Let me know in the comments. Now let's talk about the other storyline that has been hovering over this team: the absence of DK Metcalf. With him back in the building, he was finally asked about what happened during that situation involving a fan earlier in the season. And his responses were exactly what you'd expect from someone being careful, calculated, and aware of the moment. He didn't elaborate. He didn't stir the pot. He didn't offer excuses. He shut it down quickly and shifted the focus where it belonged, back to football and back to his teammates. When asked about returning, his energy was obvious. He talked about being back in meetings, back at practice, back around the guys. That matters more than people realize, especially this late in the season. But then came the tougher question. Did he feel responsible for not being out there during these critical games? His answer was firm. He said he takes responsibility for his actions, but he trusted his teammates completely. And publicly, that's the right answer. But let's be honest for a moment. There's no way he didn't feel it. Because the truth is, if he's available earlier, this team likely locks things up sooner. That pressure-filled finish never even happens. Other receivers stepped up, especially in the most recent game, but the Cleveland matchup told a different story. That one came down to a missed field goal late, and it never should have reached that point. Still, credit where it's due. Without their top target, the offense found answers. tight ends, secondary receivers, running backs, all contributed. That adaptability matters. That resilience matters. And it shows this team has layers. Which brings us to one of the most fascinating moments from the entire weekend. Marlon Humphrey, after the game, admitted he felt like he had a down season. Despite the interceptions, despite the effort, he believed he gave up too many explosive plays. He questioned himself. He questioned the disconnect between preparation and performance. And then something unexpected happened. During the game, while on the sideline, Mike Tomlin spoke to him. Not trash talk, not gamesmanship, encouragement. A reminder that he's still respected, still viewed as elite, still capable of figuring it out. That stuck with him. And it should make Steelers fans pause. Because this is what Mike Tomlin does. He sees players beyond the stat sheet. He understands confidence. He understands pride. And sometimes, a few words at the right moment can echo long after the final whistle. Humphrey even pointed to a play where he gave up a deep fade to Adam Thielen as evidence that something might be off. But when you actually watch it back, that wasn't bad coverage. That was a perfect throw. Sometimes, there is no defense for precision. And that's why this conversation matters. Because when you connect the dots, Tomlin's words, Humphrey's openness, the history of players moving from Baltimore to Pittsburgh, it's impossible not to wonder. Is this something to monitor in the future? The Steelers have a track record. They aren't afraid to take chances on established names whose best years might be behind them, believing they can unlock one more strong chapter. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. But here's where things get interesting. Right now, the secondary is functioning. The chemistry is improving. Players are settling into roles. Versatility is everywhere. And continuity, something fans have begged for, is finally within reach. There are contract decisions looming, extensions to consider, cap space to manage. You can't keep everyone. That's the reality of the league. So the real question becomes this. Do you chase another familiar name, or do you invest in what's already working? There are young corners who've stepped up, safeties who've adapted, depth that's finally meaningful. And with key players returning from injury, the picture only gets more complicated, in a good way. Money will dictate much of it. So will the quarterback situation. Team-friendly deals matter. Flexibility matters. And the front office has positioned itself better than people realize. The upcoming playoffs will tell us a lot. Not just about this season, but about the direction of the next one. And here's the final thing to consider. This team feels different. Not perfect, not unstoppable, but composed, competitive, connected. They don't look overwhelmed. They don't look lost. And regardless of how far the run goes, there's a foundation here that deserves continuity, not constant patchwork. Add a piece or two. Strengthen the offense. Make smart financial decisions. And most importantly, don't tear down something that's finally starting to feel whole. So let me ask you this as we wrap it up. Do you want the Steelers to run it back with this core, or do you think major changes are still necessary? Drop your thoughts below.